everyone. Hope you're having a great day. So excited to have you guys join us for office hours with Alex today. Once again, my name is Gabby. I'm an adoption marketing manager at Adobe. This session really is just an extension from our Learn from Your Peers webinar, where we discussed Adobe Commerce and App Builder Essentials from Basics to Impact. And Alex will be diving deeper into App Builder topics and answering any questions from you, as well as in addition to the questions that we received at the end of last week's webinar as well. I'll be posting a link in the chat of the recording of the webinar if you'd like to revisit it or share it with colleagues who might find it valuable. And with that, I'll hand it off to Alex.
Hello, thank you for the intro. Yeah, nice to have here at least some of you guys. There's not so many people joining us today. Maybe they will party in. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we ended last time our previous session on a bunch of questions, and what we can do now, we can go through them and basically trying to answer everything which we didn't answer last time. I guess, Gabi, it will be still recorded, right? So we can share it for everybody who may be still interested but haven't joined us today. So let me wait, give me a second. Sorry, need a minute to find them. Yeah, okay. So today was our presentation. Today we will rather talk about the hot topics, let's say. So one of the questions we had from the last session, it was if multiple Adobe Builder application expose different actions, can they be used as an API mesh endpoint to consolidate those actions into the single endpoint? Maybe let's start with this one. So basically, in general, as I last time told about the API mesh, quite a lot. The main goal of it is to merge all different APIs together, which means you're not really restricted to where the API is hosted to. Is it one Builder application? If it's 20 Builder application, or it's any third-party system, your developers or maybe your client just provided for you to build the integration you want to build. So basically, the answer is here quite short. Yes, you can consolidate as many as you want to in one mesh. I believe there are limit of amount of sources. I guess currently it's 10, if I'm not mistaken. I never had, honestly, use cases with more than 10, and maybe if it will hit in the future, but at this moment, no. So basically, yeah, feel free. Then the next question was, if there or will there be a Magento 2 commerce module that does the Magento 2 to Adobe service or authentication? If so, what is the module name and how can we get it? The use case is Magento 2 controller making the REST graphical request to custom web action created in a builder. As I know, currently there are no such extension in standard. There is Adobe EMS module which doing this similar stuff, because if you enable Adobe EMS extension, which is natively now in all Adobe Commerce instances available, maybe not activated, but available, you can check how it's built, because it's built already against the Adobe EMS authorization system. Means there is a mechanism to work with it. I honestly never touched it, so I didn't have such use cases for now that you need to call builder actions, because I would say most use cases when I had a call a builder from Adobe Commerce was based on events. And based on events, you don't need this integration. You technically subscribe to event, which landed into the Adobe O, and that has been consumed by whatever action of a builder you want to. The next question was, assume use starter kit and integration also checked in a stage environment. Is there any process we need to publish the app before go using in production? Not really. I mean, there is a publish mechanism of a builder module available from production environment where you can publish it. It works in a manner that you send it for publishing, and then Adobe organization owner receive the request, and then he can approve it or decline. And after you will do it, the status will be changed to published. That will make extension appear in extensions list. So the official page when you can click Adobe Builder and you get a list of modules which been activated. That's not required, but it's nice to have for sure. If you're going in production and you want that your app be in production mode, that's another users can find it also, because without publishing, it can be only developers can find it, even in production environment. It would be for sure much easier just to publish it and to have a clean state of the integrations. But you can use, honestly, you can use even staging on production, more or less. At least at this point, there are no like high SLAs or any hard requirements. But yeah, assume. So yeah, the next question. What performance improvement can we expect when using a builder for data synchronization compared to different integrations between Adobe Commerce and ERP? That's a good one. But I don't know the answer. That depends on the use case. If you synchronize like basic data there and back without complex business logic, I would also say it will not be very heavy even for if you build it without a builder by Adobe Commerce, because there are no much load in the system. But if you're starting to like rise the cost or rise amount of data you send in false and back, then the problem of Adobe Commerce is that it's hosted on the same environment as all applications you build for Adobe Commerce, like all extensions. Means all resources they're using is loaded on the same server. And I'll give you one example. We used for one of the project extension provided by extension provider, which generated the product feeds, which is basically a set of the product metadata within the XML. And as the catalog was very big, the product feed generation process just put the whole system down every time it's been run, just because it consumes too many resources. After delegating it to the builder, it's like the commerce becomes stable, fully stable, and a builder could process it within a minute, basically less than a minute, to create the same feed, which was basically the improvement, huge. So it's unblock the quite critical element of the system. But again, I mean, I cannot guarantee anything. It's more related to your use cases. The heavier load is, the easier it will be done with a builder rather than Adobe Commerce. And the last one from last session, if the Adobe Commerce Cloud, so the not on-premise, but PaaS installation database contains custom table, after migration, can we store the data in a builder and its persistent storage? I'm just clarifying my query related to the persistent storage capabilities of a builder wherever there are storage limitations. So if you were talking about really table, the table with complex structure can have multiple columns, it can have multiple columns. In this case, like a standard Adobe Builder persistent storage capabilities are the key value storage, which has a limitation. You can find them on documentation. Also, don't remember them; they're documented. But that's not something which you store the complex data in, and also they have a validity time. So when you defining the some objects in the memory, you defining the TTL, so time to live for every data, and maximum is 1 year. So if you're still going to use it for your persistent storage, you need to be aware that after the year, you need to resave this object, so it will not be erased automatically if it's actively used. But if it's not actively used and just lie there, let's say for the config saving, it will be removed. So you need to build a mechanism to resave it. That's more or less the trick and not the official solution. Or you can think about using the file storage, which is persistent. Maybe a bit slower, but honestly, like we used it for different projects, but we didn't have any heavy data load, so I cannot really tell how faster it is. Like the difference is so unspottable when you're testing it on even on production environment, but without the heavy data load, you don't see a difference. But there are document database is going to be released end of this year, beginning of next year, approximately. I mean, you may also just find that there was already multiple presentation on this topic, so as it's still in development, but it will allow you to have a persistent data being stored. It's close to, it's not a relational database, but it still allow you to save the complex data around, so it's much easier to use. And I guess that's it from questions from last session.
We did get a question in the chat right now.
Oh.
From where can I start developing extensions? Any sample modules available? Any documents? Any best practices? I guess you would recommend.
Yes. I mean, the most easy part, if you, I mean, first of all, you need to get an access to a builder. I hope you have it. If you don't, you have to be a partner or a customer. Then you can request it from Adobe. Or I mean, I don't have a link now, but if you watch the webinar, there was a last slide with an email of the person from Adobe who can give it if you're an individual contributor, just to give it a try and learn it. As for me, the easiest option to start is basically run IO app init command. That's a basic, like the first and basic command you may run after you set up your environment for a builder. Because it will generate you the basic extension with the all main elements and points you can use, and then you start to learn. That's how I started to learn it. So even not from documentation. From documentation, you will learn the steps before. So just Google Adobe Builder, and there are steps which library to install and how to run the first IO command. And after you've done it, you can get the first template and then start to use it. Then if you want to apply to a real project, there is integration starter kit available. And check out starter kit, I guess. No, I believe that in the integration starter kit is the best to start from, because it's has a quite good set of the tools. I'll paste in the chat the link. Set of the tools and libraries and like predefined stuff which you can learn from. But yeah, so that's, I would say, still Adobe documentation if you're interested in starting. I mean, it's quite very good Googleable. I mean, Adobe Builder. Let me just shortly. Wait. I found it. That took me less than a minute. So you can start with, let's say, build the first step. And I guess that's a very good point. And then you can switch to integration starter kits and then watching the videos on YouTube. There are already a bunch of them there, and check the documentation.
Do we have any other questions? If not, maybe Alex, a good use of time perhaps would be going over some of your appendix slides that maybe you were not able to in the main presentation, if that would be valuable.
Yes, we can do it for sure, because I mean, for everybody who is watching this one, maybe in the recording, I would reference you to the original presentation we had last week, because it's much more providing much more basics around, because everything I will talk now today about the stuff I haven't completed last time, it's still like you already have to have understanding what the Adobe Builder is about, because it's already, so it's not the first slide of the original presentation. Let me share my screen. This one. So you have to see. No. Oh, come on. Okay, I'll share it like this. I guess it's okay. So yeah, we ended up last time on this slide. So what I didn't talk about last time, but I honestly wanted to put it there. This took so much time for all, like to talk about it, that yeah, just was not able to complete it within 45 minutes last time. So first of all is the Adobe Builder as it built for Adobe Commerce, and the most common use case also when you develop Adobe Builder applications to let your administrators to work with it. So extend the native Adobe Commerce capabilities for company administrators, for management for marketing teams that they can access the features within Adobe Commerce. And with a builder, it's possible. If you build this single page application, it's usually self-hosted by Adobe. But what you can do, you can add your page into the Adobe Commerce admin. So like on this example, I have here on the left side, that's a standard Adobe Commerce backend. So there are no customizations. There are no code development coming from Adobe Commerce here. It's pure a builder module. And if maybe go a bit more technical, you just define in the JavaScript file within your builder where you tell in where to connect and what to display. And then Adobe Commerce has a module already out of the box which allow you to connect the builder application. And then you can also imagine that, I guess if you work with a native Adobe Commerce or Magento extension providers for a long time, they all like to build some new elements, let's say, which is out of the standard UI of Adobe Commerce. Here you could do theoretically the same, but if you, like me, want to have everything look the same, there is available React Spectrum from Adobe Commerce. That's a set of the UI tools and UI components you can build your application around, so that all the applications will look the same. And it's used everywhere. I mean, you definitely already saw it. Let's say Adobe Live Search, interfaces, catalog services, dashboards. Within Adobe Commerce, Adobe Experience Manager, all this stuff, they all look the same more or less. They all using the React Spectrum, I believe. And it's quite easier to implement it and then integrate into the Adobe Commerce. So no worries, you will not lose your extension if you build it correctly. You still can get it into the Adobe Commerce admin. It can be even on-premise installation. That's not necessary that it's SaaS only. Only requirement to have it is to have Adobe EMS login enabled for admins. So I can tell you some downsides. If you have an on-premise installation and you use custom admin SSO, it may not work correctly. It will not work correctly at all, because you need Adobe EMS login, because extension and Magento need to know each other and authorize each other. Only standard mechanism to do it is to have Adobe EMS enabled, because then by login you're receiving the correct authorization token and it's used into the Adobe builder. Then another point which is quite critical and important, not only for developers, also for the store owners, it's observability. Because if you before used Adobe Commerce extension, you had everything in one place. So everything you built is located into the same monolith, means all logs can be found. For Adobe Commerce Cloud, you have New Relic integration, which can handle everything in standard and host in the same place. For a builder, you can have multiple extensions, right? And that means you need to more or less observe them somehow. And there is a valuable observability tool for that. And there is like two ways. So the first easy way is to just configure the log forwarding. The log forwarding is possible in standard for New Relic, Splunk, and Azure Logs, or Adobe I/O runtime, which is, I found, not the most comfortable, but still usable. For me, like New Relic, I'm a more or less fan of New Relic dashboards and the way how it looks like. And in this case, everything the system logs will be forwarded there, so you can easily search, build your dashboards, and all other stuff. And it's as a nice add-on is available for free for Adobe Commerce Cloud. That's one way, but that you will only forward the logs information, so you need to dig through them yourself. There another easy way, but not so easy as the first one, because it's usually you need to take care about it when you develop in your code, is the open telemetry with Grafana tested flows, which are available in to the integration starter kit. That's a link I dropped like 2 links before. There is a way when you can build the observability by tracking the traces, logs, execution flows, configure notifications, and so on and so on. So I'll just give you one example how the New Relic log forwarding may look like. That's, for example, for API mesh. So you just have the list of the traces, and then you see the calls that have been calls through the API mesh. And that's how the Grafana logs looks like. So it's basically the dashboard which give you much more information, and if logs is not so interesting, but the execution flows are much more interesting. So here you can see the every step which your code has been executed, and you can debug where the issue happens or which parameter has been sent from object to object. But to make it work, you need to take care about this during your development. So it's not something you just install and it works. It's when you develop in your builder application, you need to take care that you send in this data to the dashboard, basically. So be aware about this one. And okay, and that's it. That's all what I had from the last session, which I didn't talk about yet. Yeah, I don't know if I raised more questions than than answers here, but yeah. Okay. Are there any questions?
For those attending, if you have any questions, feel free to either DM them or feel free to come off mic. We're not too scary, I hope. But if not, we might end the session. So no worries, we'll give you guys a few minutes.
I just will remind you, I mean, if you have any questions also, you can just drop me on a Slack channel. I mean, they're also very good group on a Slack channel for Adobe Builder, where a lot of people who working with it on daily basis are supporting, including their core team. So that's a very good channel to exchange and to talk about. Yeah.
I think we may have had someone coming off mic. Shankar, if you'd like to.
Yeah, thanks, Gabby, and thanks, Alex, for this presentation. Yeah, I just want more information about this admin UI you mentioned, the SDK. So, can we render the grid like we are doing for the native Magento, and what we are expecting in the native Magento? So, all the things are possible with the admin UI SDK, or there are some limitations.
That's a good question. Because admin UI SDK is basically the extension the Adobe team built for Adobe Commerce, which extend or add additional sources from Adobe Builder. So there are some limitations. So basically the list of features which you can build are limited because you need to provide extension point for every more or less modification. So what you can do currently, you can add a new menu items, and then by clicking this menu item, you load the full page from your builder, so your SPA. From native elements, you can add a columns in native Adobe Commerce grids. So if you have the native grid, you can define the column which will appear, which will load data from Adobe Builder. You can define the sections, and you can add the button into the edit pages of admin, but only for order pages. I believe there was some strict use cases that Adobe decided to build the button only there, but that's only place. All other within the native Adobe Commerce admin, you cannot extend. So if you want to build something yourself, you need rather, I mean, I would use the menu item and then build the interface myself. And like also reference to your first point you mentioned is the tables. That's a very good point, because now for me, let's say as a user or as a developer, the pain point is to build the tables, because I need to take care about them myself. I need to build them on React Spectrum, render the table, define the collection, and so on, and then integrate it with Adobe UA SDK. That's it.
Okay. And my next question would be so what will be the good use case of using this admin UI SDK?
I mean, is to add the pages. So I mean, so that was like example which I showed you before when I shared the screen. That so when we had, let's say, we built the feed generator model, which export the product data into the Google, for example, to the Google feed.
Okay.
And to manage it, because our customer, they're asking, okay, how can I manage it? How can I create feed, add a new element there, remove a new element? We first, when we build it, we told them, hey, here is the URL, but it's super uncomfortable. We have 5 apps. They need to save them all somewhere. So the main use cases for me, for admin UI SDK, is really to have the menu items when you click on it, and in the same view, without remembering the link, you just load the application and you work with it.
Okay, so, and the data is coming from it is stored in the app builder, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes, it's loaded fully external, so it's not loading anything from Adobe Commerce.
Okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay, so everything will be from the app builder, and it will be showing the options and menu configuration for app builder configuration will be set up from this admin UI SDK.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, most welcome. Gabi?
Well, if those are all the questions that we have, it looks like we might wrap this up. I wanted to add that if you haven't to join Adobe Commerce user groups, you can send the link in the chat as well. It's a really great opportunity for peer-to-peer learning, networking, continued education, an extension from what you heard today. It's just a really great opportunity to meet other like-minded individuals as well. So yeah, Daniela, thank you so much for posting that in the chat. Yeah, we hope you join us. Feel free to peruse the site, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Alex. He's a lovely resource. And thank you so much for your time and for participating today. It was wonderful.
Thanks everybody who joined us.
Thanks, everyone.
And huge thank you to Alex for all of his amazing insights.
Always welcome.
Always.
That's a passion, to work with the new stuff and to learn it. So
100%. All right.